Hey, it's Michael J, and I realize I haven't been making a lot of YouTube videos since Christmas time, but I was consumed with the production of the play 12 Angry Jurors and a lot of things with my work at the high school where I teach, but I was staring at my bookshelves when I was on the phone talking to my parents, and I sort of lay on my bed and I look ahead and there's some bookshelves there, and I was noticing the books I have not read that are on that shelf. And I do a lot of pleasure reading, sometimes a lot of reading for school, for preparation for the projects that I do, but I decided that I better go through my bookshelves and point out to myself all the books that I really need to read that I've been meaning to read, and I have quite a stack. And so I thought, I might make an interesting video discussion just to show you the books that I haven't read. There's a great variety of them, and I'm looking forward to reading them. I've had them on my shelf in some cases for years at this point, and haven't gotten to them because some other book or interest in something comes my way, and I go with that. And I think that's the best way to read for pleasure, is to just read whatever is interesting to you in the moment, because you're going to read it passionately and really enjoy it. But these all have an interesting reason and background for reading. I've got two little stacks here in no particular order. They're sort of stacked by size. But I have two original edition Hardy Boys books. This one is The Shortwave Mystery, and this one is The Melted Coins. And so the reason I have these Hardy Boys books, there's a couple of things about them. One is these are the original edition texts. In 1958, the syndicate that put these out rewrote all the Hardy Boys books up to that point, which was from 1929 to 1958, and they rewrote them for a different, a slimmer word count, which I guess has something to do with the readership age and how long those books should be. And then they took out some politically incorrect stuff that's still in here. So there was kind of like a little naughtiness and a little edginess in the original text that they thought in 1958, maybe we should calm that down. So that got me interested. I wanted to read what the original texts were, because I grew up with the post-1958 books with the blue bindings, and so I was interested. And I had two of these recreations of facsimiles that were being sold in the late 90s, and I had two copies of those, and so it was during COVID lockdown I opened them up and reread them again, and that got me re-interested in the Hardy Boys. And then I started collecting online and eBay and stuff, and slowly but surely getting each book in order, book 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I got to book 10 and said, I can't do this. Hardy Boys is almost endless. I mean, it did come to an end actually, but it's decades worth of books. And so I thought, oh, I'll do the original author. Now, the original author is not Franklin W. Dixon as you see on all the books. This is a nom de plume. His name was Leslie McFarlane, and he wrote, I'm going to get the amount wrong, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 books. And he took a little break and then came back and did these last two. And so I thought, okay, since he's the original version of Franklin W. Dixon, I will just collect the books that he wrote. So that's what I've done, and I stopped because I just can't, I don't have room to keep collecting things. But I love the original illustrations on these covers and in the inside. They're just really neat. And there's something sturdy and good sized about these. I just love them. So I haven't read these two yet. I've read the other ones that I've collected, and I'm just going to get to them. But you can't always be reading a Hardy Boys book. It's like, but they're pretty good. They're geared toward, I would say, 12 to 14 years old, really. But they're pretty fun to read. I enjoy them as a nostalgic sort of thing. This book I found recently. I've been looking for a hardback copy of Ray Bradbury's The October Country, which is full of short stories of the Halloween nature, ghost story style. And this is just a really nice little volume hardback with the cover on it still. And I'm going to save this for October and read it this Halloween. I just found this at the used bookstore near me, and so I'm saving it for Halloween. This book I picked up on purpose because I thought I want a little paperback book to read while I'm on my trip to Italy coming up. Obviously I will do a video about Italy, but so I thought, what should I read? I love I'm inspired to go to Italy because of Italy in the movies. There's a good 5 or 6 movies set in Italy that I just love to keep going back to, and I sort of just like being in the aura of the world of these movies. And one of them is A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. It's a Merchant Ivory film that was really popular and big in the Oscars the year it came out in the 80s. So I like going back to that film. It's lovely, but I've never read it. So I picked up a paperback copy. I usually like to get hardback copies of things because they look better on the bookshelf, and I just want them as keepsakes as well. But this is going to be easier and lighter to carry around in a bag around Italy. And I just wanted something to read while I'm waiting at a train station or at the airport or what have you, in between things when I could stand a little reading. And anyway, so it's all about, you know, visiting Italy, and I will enjoy reading that. I like to go back to the good old classics every now and then. I work those. This is the only one in my, like of what I'm talking about. Classics like, you know, Jane Eyre and Charles Dickens, and I haven't read all of that stuff. Some of it, yes. The key things, yes, but you know, there's a lot of authors out there to read. I've recently been reading some F. Scott Fitzgerald that isn't The Great Gatsby. So I like to go to the classics. This book is a biography of the art director from Hollywood, William Cameron Menzies. And it's a really nice looking book. It's got photographs in it, but it's mostly a biography, so it's mostly text. And the photos, unfortunately, are mostly black and white. I got this, you know, online through Amazon probably, and I sort of thought it was going to be more of a coffee table book with more color photos, and so you could see his work in photographs, more of an album of his work. And I'm disappointed that it's not, although I'm still going to be interested to read all about his life. But this has been on my shelf since COVID. This was a COVID purchase. And it's been sitting waiting for me, and I will get to it. But I love books that are photo albums of the work of costume designers and set designers, and they give me a lot of inspiration when I'm going to work on a new project. I always go back to them. So also history books with a lot of photos. There's an Old Time Life series called This Fabulous Century, and they did a photo book on each decade of the 20th century, and that's a fantastic resource. I go back to that all the time. Anyway, so I'm going to read this at some point. Another COVID purchase. Well, I got this online through a used bookstore online, and it's called Franklin Roosevelt and the New Deal. And it's just about the New Deal. And I know a lot about the New Deal only through documentaries about the Great Depression and my interest in Depression-era theater and film and all of that. It all ties in with what was going on. There was also the WPA theater movement, where part of the New Deal was there was funding for the arts in a way that there isn't anymore. And that interests me. So I thought, rather than sort of having bits and pieces in my mind of what the New Deal was all about, I thought, oh, I'll read this book about the New Deal. Anyway, it's one of those kind of reads where it's more, you know, technical history, and so I just haven't gotten around to feeding it in. But I'm making a new list here to get started on. My mom gave this to me for Christmas because she thought I'd like it, and I probably will like it. It is a biography of Don Knotts, the actor, and it's called Tied Up in Knots, My Dad and Me. So it's written by his daughter, Karen Knotts. Anyway, I'm sure it's going to be a fun little interesting read. It doesn't look like it's too big, and I like Don Knotts. It's just not been in my priority lately. This book, somebody gave me a gift certificate for Barnes & Noble, and so I went to Barnes & Noble with my gift certificate looking around, and they usually have these really nice bound copies of classics there, and I sort of I just love the way they feel. This is Isaac Asimov and the Foundation Trilogy, which is the 3 books, Foundation books, science fiction, classic science fiction author, and this is just a gorgeous copy. It has wonderful illustrations in the front, and it's just a great feeling book. I just love it. But it's like 3 stories. I'm going to have to separate my reading of the 3 stories in this trilogy, but they're all here. So I will pick this up. The problem with a book like this is that I can't just carry it around in a bag. It's kind of heavy, and that's one of the things keeping me from reading this is carrying it around. It's unattractive to, so I gotta sit, and I don't sit at home and read so much. I usually am going to a coffee shop and reading. I guess if I go in the summertime more, I go specifically to the coffee shop to read for an hour and have my coffee drink or whatever I'm going to have, and I could bring a book like this there. But when I have my bag full of stuff for school and I'm coming and going, that's when it's like, this is just one thing too many to have in my bag. And then the last book in my collection of unread books is called Mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton. And it's all of the stories of the Greek mythology stories, which I came to love and adore based on Ray Harryhausen movies with all the stop-motion animation, such as Clash of the Titans, where you really get the Greek mythology in there. But I wanted to go back to the original stories and see how do they go. And this book is just gorgeous. It has these wonderful illustrations in it, and it's just beautiful. So I'm really happy to have it, but I have not cracked it. I read the introduction, and another gorgeous, wonderful illustration. Anyway, it's just a beautiful book, and I want to read these stories, and I'm very, they're one of my favorite authors. None of his books are here, and I have several. Well, yes, The October Country by Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury says, if you want to be a good writer, and I haven't been focused on being a writer past playwriting, but he says you've got to read all of the old stories and all of the mythology coming all the way up through time. And, one of the great sources is the Greeks for stories. I mean, think about their plays, think of Aesop's fables, think of the mythology stories. And I think it'd be fun maybe to do something with maybe some of these stories woven together as a theater piece. I'm not sure. It could be something I do with my students in the future. I've always had an idea like that in the back of my mind. I've seen other productions that have done that. I've been wanting to do a Greek theater piece like Aristophanes' The Birds or the Frogs, or maybe something more serious like Medea or Oedipus or something. But, there's something, I think it would be more fun to do something that has these sort of magical stories of the mythology and weave something together original, maybe in this kind of in the style of how the old Greek theater was done, but with a new script, and maybe even have the students help work on writing different parts of it. I'm not sure. Something that I'm cooking on. So anyway, that's my book haul from across the house in my bookshelves, and what I'm going to be trying to read all summer. And since I'm finishing up a different Hardy Boys book right now, and then I'm in middle of June, I'm going to Italy. This is probably the next thing I'm going to read, maybe, is The Room with a View. So the theater and school has been keeping me really super busy. You can check out the video I made of the making of our production of 12 Angry Jurors, and Also, I made during COVID, right before when COVID started getting going, and I was getting interested in the Hardy Boys again, I made a video about the history of the Hardy Boys, because I became mildly obsessed in 2020 all about the Hardy Boys. So I'll link those two at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.
Then the world discovers, as my book ends, how to make two lovers a friend.